Australia is in mourning after the deadliest attack the country has seen in years. At least 16 are dead, including one of the two shooters. But among all this, one man is being hailed as a hero. As shots rang out, this man charged one of the gunmen. He wrestled the gun out of the attacker's hand before pointing the weapon at the assailant, who backed away. It was a split-second act of courage that may have saved countless lives. Local outlets identify him as 43-year-old Ahmed Ahmed, a fruit seller, and reported that he had suffered 2 gunshot wounds himself. One thing to note is the man had no experience with guns.
Still, he's in the hospital and we don't know exactly what's going inside. But they said, the doctor, he's very okay. And next 2 hours, they let us to go in and see Ahmed because he's still inside and he do the operation. But we hope he will be fine. He's a hero, 100%. He's a hero because what we see on the social media, he's 100% hero.
The startling footage of the encounter has gone viral. People across the world are praising the bravery of the man who ran toward danger, putting his own life on the line. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese hailed him and others as heroes.
We are also thinking of everyone being treated for their injuries, and many of whom are alive right now because of the courage and quick action of the New South Wales Police and the first responders who rushed to their aid, as well as the courage of everyday Australians who, without hesitating, put themselves in danger in order to keep their fellow Australians safe.
At the White House, President Donald Trump offered his own praise and a great respect for the man who disarmed a gunman. President Trump said it's been a very, very brave person, actually, who went and attacked affrontly one of the shooters and saved a lot of lives. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who strongly attacked Australian government for the attack, also had words of praise for the man.
We saw an action of a brave man, turns out a Muslim brave man, and I salute him, that stopped one of these terrorists from killing innocent Jews.
At the Bondi Beach, hundreds of people came out to lay flowers and pay tribute to victims of the shooting. Flags across the country are flying half-mast, and tributes have been left at a memorial near the site of the shooting.
Well, it's just completely surreal. It's just the most horrifying thing that was prayed that would never happen. You know, that you'd never have to experience anything like this. It's I just keep on thinking that I'm in a bad dream and I'm going to wake up.
Bondi will bounce back. It absolutely will. I just also hope that people stop long enough to take stock of what's happened, to love each other, and to move forward with grace in their heart and to seek peace. But we can't forget what's happened in a hurry.
Joining us live from London is Dr. Kadira Pataya Goda, a geopolitical expert. Thank you so much for joining us on WION. How do you see the targeted attack on Jews in Sydney?
Yes, well, the tragic attack, I mean, all the evidence suggests that it was indeed quite clearly now a targeted terrorist attack against the Jewish community, but it was a father-son duo that did it, and I think the police are saying there's no evidence that it was a broader, more organized group. But I think this taps into a long global pattern where international conflicts, particularly in the Middle East, are projected onto local minority communities who have actually no role in those conflicts. And we're seeing transnational extremist narratives combined with Israel's assault on Gaza, combining to actually fuel more hatred and violence in countries around the world like Australia, which have nothing to do with it.
And I know you talked about that a little bit about the international community, but do you think that this is a wake-up call for European cities across the continent and the Western world in general?
Yes, I mean, I think there's definitely going to be increased measures of protection, as well as increased diplomatic language from the highest levels of government to kind of calm down tensions. Security agencies in Europe and elsewhere already operate on the assumption that threats are contagious, and they're not really contained within borders. And I think the Bondi attack reinforces the knowledge that there are lone actors or small isolated networks who are inspired by global narratives, even though they're not directly under control from abroad, which makes it extremely difficult to predict, to monitor. There's going to have to be a real increased level of vigilance. And there will be, practical measures like heightened protection around Jewish institutions, religious sites, public spaces, particularly coming up to Christmas as well.
And, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he went on the attack against Australia and said that it did little to stop anti-Semitism in the country. Allegedly, the Israeli government had given a heads up to Australia prior to this that something like this may have happened. There were reports of that in the media. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, well, I think we need to look closer at, whether Israel had given a heads up and how specific that was. There's a lot of intelligence chatter going on constantly in terms of attacks. So that would need to be really investigated more clearly. But I think the broader critique that Prime Minister Netanyahu has been making of Australia over some time now is broadly unjustified. I mean, firstly, Australia's actions against anti-Semitism have been very significant. Even though there's been a rise in anti-Semitism, there's also been rise in hate incidents against other groups like Indians and Hindus, other visible minorities. And Australia provides very significant, long-standing, ring-fenced federal funding for security of Jewish communities, even beyond what it provides to certain other minority communities. So I think Australia's actions have been significant, but also I think that the Israeli government is in no position to actually point fingers, given that their own significant failures on October the 7th, for which Netanyahu's government is being investigated, but also Israel's own history of supporting Islamist extremist groups in the Middle East, including in Syria, for example, where they provided medical support to al-Nusra fighters. So I think that it's very unjustified, particularly at this time when it was really, it was Australian Jews who were attacked. And so I think the role of the Israeli government should be to provide condolences and support for Australia and Australian Jews.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Dr. Kadira Pitaya Goda. Thank you for joining us on WION, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you very much.